Donald Trump's chief propagandist and press secretary Karoline Leavitt just held a disastrous press conference in the White House. She was asked if there was any updates about the suspension of habeas corpus that Donald Trump's top advisor Stephen Miller said was under consideration. Karoline Leavitt says there are no updates on if and when habeas corpus will be suspended. Play this clip.
One other question. Recently, Stephen Miller at the White House made some comments about considering suspending habeas corpus. And I'm curious if there's any update on how the White House is exploring that option to enact the president's agenda.
I don't have any update at this time, but I can check in with our deputy chief of staff.
The fact that they so cavalierly, brazenly, and with almost in a normalized fashion talk about literally suspending the Constitution is absolutely horrifying. They then go on to talk about how they're putting MAGA baby savings accounts in the new budget. They're calling it MAGA baby savings accounts. Here, play this clip.
As I said, this is a very pro-family piece of legislation. Not only does it increase the child tax credit, but it also includes MAGA baby savings accounts for children that are born before January 1st, 2024, under 8 years old, U.S. citizens, and have at least one parent with a valid Social Security number. And when this tax provision becomes law, the child, if the parents seek to do this, will be set up with a savings account. Essentially, it's a 401k for a newborn baby. And
Karoline Leavitt then talks about how one way or another, the United States is still looking to take over Greenland. This is what she was saying at the press conference today. Let's play it.
Karoline.
I'll go to both of you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Any updates on Greenland? Will the president be making any trips, and do we have any details you can share with us?
I don't have any future foreign trips to read out for you. We just returned home from one. But the president maintains the reasoning for Greenland's strategic purposes in the Arctic, and he continues to remain committed to the idea of obtaining Greenland in whatever means we can to advance our national security interests in the region.
She then gets a question about Donald Trump attacking Taylor Swift over the weekend, and Donald Trump saying that Taylor Swift is not hot. It should also be noted that earlier this morning, Donald Trump seemed to imply that he wanted Beyonce in prison. Seriously, there you can't even say, but what if another former president did this? This is so out of control that this is actually a question and it's actually being answered. Here, play this clip.
The last one. What does President Trump mean when he says that Taylor Swift is no longer hot?
Look, he is speaking about Taylor Swift's political views and how perhaps it has impacted the support of the American public for her work. And I will leave it at that. Annie, go ahead.
Thanks so much.
And by the way, I mean, this is not funny. The rest of the world is looking at America with absolute horror and revulsion while our enemies are taking glee in this absolute madness. Now, you could try to have corporate media here act like, oh, this is just funny. No, it's not. No one finds this stuff funny. It's absolutely insane that this is taking place, and it makes the United States a very unserious place. More people should be speaking up, quite frankly. The next thing that Karoline Leavitt is asked is if Donald Trump is okay with raising the deficit by trillions of dollars. She claims that actually we're going to be saving money in the new budget, she says. And of course, that's not going to happen because in the budget itself, they're raising the debt ceiling by $6 trillion. Here, let's play this clip.
Just a quick follow-up. Is the president okay with this bill adding to the deficit?
This bill does not add to the deficit. In fact, according to the Council of Economic Advisors, this bill will save $1.6 trillion. And the president absolutely understands and hears the concerns of fiscal conservatives and of Americans who want to get our fiscal house in order. That's what the intention of this bill is. There's $1.6 trillion worth of savings in this bill. That's the largest savings for any legislation that has ever passed Capitol Hill in our nation's history. The next bill that even comes close was $800 billion. That's less than half of the savings that we see in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so the goal of this bill is to produce economic growth, to cut taxes, and to get our fiscal house in order. And this is the right step in the right direction towards doing that.
Karoline Leavitt is asked about Moody's downgrading the United States credit score. The credit agency Moody's, for the first time in its history since 1917, has downgraded the U.S. credit based on the one massive deficits that are going to be created by the new budget, but also just the erratic trade behavior and the erratic behavior of the United States generally. She lies and says, nope, we're actually doing great. Everything's amazing. Inflation is going down. Things are incredible. All things that are just lie after lie after lie. Literally, how do you know Karoline Leavitt is lying? She's talking. And then she has the worst tell as well. You could probably see in these videos when she's being asked these questions, as she's like getting ready to lie, she has like a wind up where she like does this thing with her hair. She like flips her hair. She's like, all right, get ready for the lie. Get ready for the lie. Okay, lie. Here, play this clip.
Thanks.
Edward.
Yes, thanks.
And then I'll go to you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
I want to get the president's reaction to Moody's downgrading the credit rating of the United States.
Sure. Well, look, the president talked about this over the weekend. The Secretary of Treasury also talked about it. When you look at the world has confidence in the United States of America and our economy once again. The president just last week secured trillions of dollars in investments from countries in the Middle East. We have seen trillions of dollars of investments flowing into our economy since the president took office. That is because America or people around the world have confidence in the United States of America. And if you also just look at the raw economic data that we're seeing last week when we were out of town, inflation dropped once again. Oil prices are dropping. Gas prices are dropping. The president has added nearly 500,000 jobs to the American economy already. So there's a lot of optimism in this economy, and the president disagrees with that assessment.
And I want to ask you one more thing about.
Speaking of getting ready for the lie, Karoline Leavitt then talks about how Donald Trump had a perfect physical, perfect results. Everything is perfect. Folks, this is right out of Kim Jong-un central casting right here. This is shameful. Let's play this clip.
Follow up on former President Biden. White House doctors may have missed the early stages of his prostate cancer. So is President Trump worried about the quality of care that presidents get here?
Not as far as President Trump is concerned. The White House physician we have here is phenomenal, and the team of physicians that take care of the president, particularly at Walter Reed Medical Center, are great. The president had his physical recently, as you know. He had perfect results. He's in very good shape. I think those of you who traveled to the Middle East with us last week can attest to the president's endurance. And by the way, I will add, we returned home from a very long and tiring trip last week. And on Saturday, where was the president? In the Oval Office working all day. He doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He's in great health, and he trusts his physicians.
Two more things.
Then Karoline Leavitt says that the bribe that Donald Trump is accepting from Qatar in the form of a $400 million 747 gold-plated jet that reverts to a hypothetical Trump library, meaning Donald Trump will get to fly around in a private jet with the maintenance cost to be borne by taxpayers who are actually suffering right now. She says any media who called this a gift needs to issue retractions right now. No, Karoline Leavitt, screw you and screw your fascist regime. Play this clip.
On the gift plane from Qatar, three things. Is there a timeline for the U.S. receiving that plane? Do you know how long it will take to retrofit the plane to presidential standards? And thirdly, has the intelligence community, security folks, have they weighed in on whether that plane can actually be secured to presidential standards?
I'm glad you brought up this question because I was watching the American press spew a lot of misinformation about the plane donation last week when we were abroad. Let's be very clear. The government of Qatar, the Qatari family, has offered to donate this plane to the United States Air Force, where that donation will be accepted according to all legal and ethical obligations. It will be retrofitted to the highest of standards by the Department of Defense and the United States Air Force. This plane is not a personal donation or a gift to the President of the United States. And everyone who wrote that last week should go and correct their stories because this is a donation to our country and to the United States Air Force. As for a timeline, because it is the United States Air Force that is accepting the plane, I would defer you to them for specifics because the president, frankly, has nothing to do with it. It's the Air Force's project to take on. Sure.
Next, Karoline Leavitt is asked about Walmart. saying that they're going to have to raise their prices. And then she says, well, actually, China is going to eat the tariffs. That's why China wanted to rush to have negotiations with us. No, they didn't. The United States rushed to Switzerland. The rest of the world knows what happens. The United States capitulated and pushed their tariffs from 145% to 30% and got absolutely nothing in return. There was zero concessions that were actually gotten. But she says, well, the reason Walmart's saying that is that they have to give the most dire circumstances to their stakeholders legally. Play this clip.
Children. Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline. President Trump and his top economic aides have repeatedly said that Americans will not pay the cost of tariffs. In fact, last week, Lutnick said people have to drop the, quote, silly arguments that consumers would pay the cost. But over the weekend, as you know, the president posted that Walmart should eat the tariffs and not charge the value customer anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. So does he acknowledge that if companies don't absorb the full cost, Americans will have to pay?
Well, first of all, the CEO of Walmart made those comments about the tariffs on an early earnings call where CEOs, I believe, are legally obligated to give the most dire warnings and forecasts to their investors and stakeholders. The reality is the president has always maintained Chinese producers will be absorbing the cost of these tariffs. And that is why China was so quick to hustle to the negotiating table with the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumers. And I would again point you to the inflation report that came out last week showing that inflation is declining in large part because energy prices are dropping across the board in this country because of the president's robust energy agenda that he has taken since January 20th. So the president is committed to ensuring that prices remain low for American consumers, and he maintains the position that foreign countries will absorb these tariffs.
What does he mean by "I'll be watching" to Walmart?
He'll be watching, seeing what they're doing. Jennifer.
What do you mean? You mean that they're under a legal obligation to tell the truth? Unlike y'all apparently at the White House who just lie over and over again? Ducey asks a pretty basic question right here. He asks Karoline Leavitt, so is Putin the good guy or the bad guy? The fact that we even have to talk in these terms, the good guy or the bad guy? And Karoline Leavitt can't even answer the question. Here, play this clip.
Two more things. Putin ghosted everybody at these peace talks last week. As President Trump phones him today to try to figure out an end to the Ukraine war, does he think that Putin is the good guy or the bad guy?
I'll let the president speak on that conversation later. He's made his feelings about both sides of this war quite clear throughout it. He wants to see it end.
Next up, Karoline Leavitt here is just smirking, as Aaron Rupert puts it, as a new media correspondent asks her about the Clinton body count. As Mehdi Hassan says, difficult to summarize just how abnormal and weird and insane this is. There is no imagine if Biden or imagine if Obama equivalent scenario you can even come up with. Here, play this clip.
So over the weekend, President Trump posted Truth Social a video highlighting what most people call the Clinton body count, which is the strange number of suicides that seem to happen in Clinton circles. I have a headline here from the Washington Post that said, Trump peddles false conspiracy theories tying the Clintons to several deaths. So I just wanted to highlight real quick, this wasn't in Trump's video, but this is from the Arkansas Times. And it's the death of Mark Middleton, who was a former Clinton White House aide, who was found dead on a Clinton Foundation property. And I'll just quote from the Arkansas Times. Middleton apparently shot himself in the chest with a shotgun and also hung himself from a tree with an extension cord. So I have no idea how somebody commits suicide that way, but if the Washington Post is here, maybe you can enlighten us as to how that was actually a suicide.
By the way, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Snapstream who help us pull all of these clips with their software. Just you can check out if you're interested in how we get these clips, you can check out in the description how we physically pull them. We use a software called Snapstream. In the description below, there's a link to Snapstream. If you're interested in using the same product that we do, you can check it out. Next up, Karoline Leavitt talks about how Donald Trump is still committed to the largest mass deportation in history, and that's what they're focused on right now. Here, play this clip.
These significant hirings will empower President Trump to continue delivering on his promise to carry out the largest mass deportation in the history of our country. Again, that is a promise that Republicans made to American voters. It's a promise they were elected on, and it's a promise Republicans on Capitol Hill need to keep. Secure our border.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Another special shout out to Snapstream. Again, you can take a look in the description below. There's a link there for them too. We'll keep you posted with more throughout the day. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network. Help us get to 5 million subscribers. If you're not subscribed, subscribe now and make sure to turn your notifications on in the YouTube channel.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.